You're listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary, episode 8.
If anybody listening to this has never talked to a therapist, even if you don't think you need to, I would say just find one locally. Do some research, see some reviews, find a good one that comes highly recommended. Just go in there for an hour.
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Change Your POV podcast. In this episode, we wrap up our conversation from last week with Brandon Baza. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to go back and listen to the first part of our conversation in episode 6. Now, let's get right into the interview already in progress. Story time. What's one really quick, crazy story about our time in Iraq that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Probably the one that's freshest, and also because I just talked about it, through my YouTube video, was the time that I almost caught an 88 when they were incoming, when they put a couple in the fob one morning.
Yeah, it was at the same time. It was dark. You were standing over by that building out by the ready line.
Yeah, it was just morning was just cracking because the guys all went.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So yeah, we had just come in off the route. So it was, what was this? It was probably about 6 because we were on midnight to noon shift, and we had just come in. So we had just come off the 3 to 6 shift and just put our trucks, all 3 trucks on line right behind headquarters,
Yep.
And so I just told everybody, I was like, hey, I'll take first watch, you guys go eat. And, the previous morning, right around the same time, I want to say they put 2 rounds into our fob. Just pulled up, put 2 to see if their tube was probably on, and then boogied. I just took my OTV and my Kevlar off. That's when the rounds started to impact. The first couple rounds that impacted, I think, were over by the PSD guys. Remember, their whole back side of the building just got torn up.
Oh yeah.
So I want to say 2 or 3 rounds had impacted there. A couple guys came running out from the little driveway where we used to drive our trucks to the little maintenance area.
Yep.
Yeah, they'd come running towards my truck from the maintenance area, and they were asking. They go, "Oh man, is that incoming or outgoing?" And I said, "No, man, it's incoming. You guys better go find shelter." And they just took off running. This guy's had never left the fob before. It's a couple wrenches, and so our trucks were facing south. So they're ready to roll out in case we had to. Right around my driver's door was, or my TC door was open. And because that's where my OTV was hanging. We used to hang them, on our door there. So my OTV and my Kevlar were hanging there. And so I started to walk around the backside of my truck because I was going to open the door and then sit in the back seat behind Sartor's seat, just to listen to the radio.
Right.
And that's when the one mortar hit. It hit that sidewalk that was just on the other, just the sidewalk that ran along the far side of the road that we were parked on.
Yeah.
And because I had my back turned to it when it happened, and I felt it and it pushed me before I even really kind of realized, before I heard it, before I really knew what happened. I don't even think that I really heard it,
Right.
Because it all just kind of rung and when I hit the ground, and I was really I felt really like when you stick a 9-volt on your tongue, that kind of shock, that whole thing, that whole tingly shock was going through my body, and I turned and I looked, and I saw the impact cloud, where it hit. And so I just kind of checked myself real quick and stumbled in that back door right there. That was right in between. I want to say that was a 2nd platoon bay and the headquarters one, or maybe it was one of ours in headquarters. And yeah, so I came in there, and no, I didn't even get hit. Thankfully, somehow.
That thing was no more. It couldn't have been no more than 20 feet from where you were standing.
Yeah,
and
probably 20, 25 feet.
Yeah, but all the shrapnel was a back blast right into the wall behind it. How in the world did you not get hit, man?
I don't know. Tore that stucco wall. I mean, it was it was missing
Oh yeah,
chunks, as big as a softball out of it.
yeah.
And when I
If any of that would have blasted forward, oh man, dude, I can't even imagine. Especially if you didn't have a Kevlar or OTV on.
Yeah, because the way that it came, the way when I checked it out later that day and kind of did a half-ass crater analysis, it was fired from the racetrack. So,
Yep.
I think there was 5 or 6 rounds total, and they fired them from the racetrack, and then they boned out. So, from the racetrack pointed to where I was standing, it was supposed. The only thing I could think of is maybe a couple of those fins were bent, and so that thing was just wobbling in the air, and when it had
Mm.
impacted, it might have been, the tail might have just been canted my way enough to when that thing impacted, everything blew backwards. But yeah, how I didn't die or at least take shrapnel, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd have to say, I'll be honest with you, man. I saw a huge transformation out of you going from soldier to non-commissioned officer and having guys under you. I think once you got some guys underneath you and you felt that weight of responsibility and obligation, it changed who you were as a person and as a leader. And that's when, I mean, you were always good. You were always a good soldier, and you always were very knowledgeable and just could execute. You were just definitely one of the best of the best.
I was just
You know,
really
but
abrasive.
yeah, but you were all about you, and I saw that change though when you took on that role and responsibility of a leader and somebody who now had guys underneath you. That shifted. You realized that it wasn't just about you anymore. It was about other lives at stake, and they were within your charge.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So we do.
I could feel that big time. Just like that cockiness, because I had a lot of confidence in me and in my ability to do my job as a 13 Fox, and I didn't have a problem telling NCOs um how I felt, which wasn't the right
No.
it wasn't the right thing to do, at the time. But after I became an NCO and saw not just like how other like your peers, your other NCOs, your soldiers around observed you, but just in your
Yeah.
actions also. And so like it took me a long time to grasp that aspect of being a leader.
Right.
That it's not just about you and the way you present yourself. It's about what other people, how they see you, how they perceive you. And it took a long time for that to finally get through my thick skull. But once it did, it was kind of like a last piece of the puzzle. It's just kind of twisting and turning, and you're trying to figure out a way to make it fit. And then once you finally do turn, it fits and just kind of locks into place, and the whole thing kind of comes full circle. That's kind of how it was
Right.
once I realized that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Once you locked it in, dude, man, you were freaking unstoppable, man. You
I
were
loved
just a
it.
beast.
I dug the army. Man, we had so many close calls. I mean, I can't even count on two hands probably how many times I almost died. And
Yeah, so we get to Iraq and we have an awesome mission. I say we, I'm talking the Brigade Reconnaissance Troop and the Colt platoon that was attached to it. And we were first and foremost the Brigade QRF section or QRF responsibility within the Brigade sector, which was eastern Baghdad over by Slaughter City from March '04 to March '05. We were responsible for an 8-mile stretch of road. Route Pluto is what it was called. It was nicknamed IED Alley, but then again, there's probably 100 roads in Iraq that were all nicknamed IED Alley.
right.
But so our mission, right, was to do 24/7 route reconnaissance, counter IED missions, and I mean whatever else they had on our plate to do. Right, we did snap checkpoints, we stopped vehicles. We did cordon and searches. We did engagements, route security, convoy escort. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the stuff that we passed out frozen chickens.
Yeah, medevac.
I mean,
Medevac was probably the worst.
medevac. Yep.
Yeah.
So we had all of that to do, and you were in first platoon. I was in headquarters platoon, so we were in the same troop, but we had different or alternating schedules when we were out on the route. We might have relieved each other or whatever, but we weren't generally out at the same time unless all hell broke loose and they started to call out everybody, then we were all out on the route together. But
Yeah.
so talk to me about kind of your first, I'll say our first type of engagement, and what was running through your head when bullets like real deal started flying down range.
My first taste of it was Black Friday. It was the day the night Sheehan died. when the Mahdi army had set up in Solder City and ambushed 2-5.
Yep, April 4th. Yep,
Yeah, there you go.
2004.
Yes. So I think that was like we had been doing ride-alongs for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And this was going to be like our last night with 2nd ACR on the route, and then it was like ours. That night, I didn't actually get an engagement that night, but just that, being in country, 3 days and a night, and then to have that happen, it was just a feeling, like, because it was dark, it was 9 or 10 o'clock at night already when that initially started. I mean, that ended up going throughout the whole entire night, but we were still down on Pluto at the time. I want to say we were at the intersection on the northbound side of Predators. Like we weren't all the way up to the intersection. I was backed off a little bit.
Yeah.
And just like that sense, that heightened, I don't know, like that hyper awareness had kicked in, and it was I knew that it was the Wild West, and it was.
So we were rolling around with force protection ammo only, which was 7 rounds, one 30-round magazine per person, and I don't even think we had more than a can of 50 cal ammo at the time.
We didn't have much for that. I think it was almost, we had been there almost a week before we finally really started getting our ammo.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were still rolling around without doors at this time, right? With no doors on our Humvee.
Yeah, we had soft doors. We had soft doors all the way up until it was like 2 days after Johnson got hit with that IED, and that's when they brought those people in. Yeah, so we had just the up armor they gave us in Kuwait was just those kind of like kicker panels, the front doors, and then that kind of like blast shield that was supposed to sit between the rear 2 seats and then the hatched area.
Yeah.
Terrible stuff. It was just, I don't know. But it was what we had. But it was that night, like I'll never forget. I can like just talking about it now, I can picture it. I was sitting there. So I was sitting on the right side of the truck, and I was just kind of scanning north into just the buildings, and there's foot traffic, there's cars, lights going on and off in buildings, and I just it was intense.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any real expectations when we were getting ready to deploy, or I didn't have this big envisionment of what the deployment was going to be like.
Right.
That's kind of like how my whole military career has been. I really didn't expect much. I just kind of went with the flow,
Yeah.
And it was everything that I ever thought that it would be, just in that instance, without even, I hadn't even shot my rifle for the first time, or I hadn't even seen anybody hit for the first time, but I had heard a lot of that radio chatter. And then once I don't think we got called into medevac that night. I think that we stayed on the route. It's so hard. When you do so much, over the span of a year.
Well, let me define so much. So for the listeners out there, our brigade reconnaissance troop logged. When I mean by logged, we had a headquarters platoon. Well, we had a headquarters shed, basically, like a staff duty, that would man all of the troop communications, and they would put into a logbook all of our, enemy contacts, all of our medevacs, everything that we were doing. They logged it, and there was over 3,200 forms of enemy contact that we logged in the year that we were there. And as well as I do, not everything made it into that logbook, right?
Yeah. There'd be times where it was really the really hairy times, like when you don't even have time to call contact into headquarters, would be when they would want us to go off the route. When we would go off route Pluto, and then 4, 5, 6 streets deep into these neighborhoods, that's when stuff would get really hairy, because there's basically zero presence in those neighborhoods, which also wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it wasn't really a good thing, because they didn't expect us to be in there. So it's not like they would have things set up for us, but we were easily exposed targets of opportunity. If there's a couple dudes hanging out and they seen us roll through, it didn't take them long to, get together and then, pop off a little ambush, fire a couple shots or whatever, and then just kind of disperse into nowhere. And those kind of deals, you don't even call them in, you react. 10 years later, almost over 10.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah,
11 years, yeah.
Dude, I still deal with shit from that place, and it's now granted it hasn't affected me to the extent of a lot of our vets, and a lot of it has to do because I started talking to a shrink. I was against therapy for so long. I was forced to. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
So why were you? So let's dig in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what made you against the therapy? Was it just the pride that you had? Was it the stigma? What was it?
No, it was so my first experience with any kind of therapy was at the VA hospital in Lancaster, Texas. That was about 20 minutes from where I stayed. Once I ETS'd in June of '05, I stayed in the Dallas area because I was married to a local girl at the time. We ended up separating. It wasn't even long. I was home for like 2 months, and we ended up separating and then eventually getting divorced. But I worked with her dad, and I stayed pretty close. I'm still pretty close with him. I think because he knew, I worked with him for almost 3 years while I was down there. But so I started going to the VA because they just started making appointments, and so I went and I started talking to people and telling them whatever they were asking.
Now this was after you got out?
Yes, yeah, this was probably the fall of '05.
Yep.
And so I would just get notices in the mail, hey, you got to be at the VA hospital for this, and I would just show up. It was all part of like when I went through when I was ETSing out of Hood, like when I was clearing, you met with the VA people and they took your records and did all that mess. I'm guessing it was just added on from all of that because I just started getting appointments and I just went to them. And so it came to the point where I wasn't initially like told by the VA to see a shrink. After I divorced, I started dating this girl that worked at the race shop with me, and I had serious anger issues. I mean, I've always had anger issues since I was a little kid, but after Iraq, they were magnified, tenfold easily. I struggled with like extreme jealousy and paranoia, and so a lot of that had affected the relationship I was in. And the girl, she was young. She was like 19 or 20 years old, just this young, innocent girl. And here I somehow conned my way into dating her, liking me somehow. And she just saw, she was exposed to this type of person that, she probably had never, she was a church girl, just local Texas girl, probably could have never thought in a million years that, people like me existed. And so it came to the point she told me, she said, you need help or we're going to break up. And so I was like, all right. So I went to the VA hospital and I was like, I just need to talk to somebody. So they put me up with their Iraq, Afghanistan specialist was what this lady dubbed herself, their PTSD specialist. And it didn't take.
Did she serve?
No. She wasn't.
Okay.
She was not a vet. She was nothing. She had a couple pieces of paper on her wall that said that she could talk to me, and that was my biggest problem with it. And so right off the bat, she didn't. It wasn't even good, off the start. I wouldn't even talk to her. Anything that I opened up or I tried to share, any kind of like intimate details as far as like emotional or stuff related to whatever. Her answers, they were always so generic. And so it didn't last long. I did a couple visits with her and then I just quit. I never went back. Things never got better for me. I just kind of downward spiraled more and more. It was all emotional. It was all in my head. I never turned to drugs or alcohol. I just like tried to internalize all that. And eventually it came to a point where I just, like, me and her had broke up and like the depression was getting to me. And I just had this moment where I broke down. I was working with, there was this old guy at the race shop that I hung around with outside of the race shop quite a bit. He ran his own little sprint series down there in Texas, and So I was working with one of his sprint car drivers at the time. Him and his dad owned a little aircraft service thing down in Ennis, Texas. They were at like the municipal airport down there.
Yeah.
So I was inside of one of the airplanes and I was redoing a dash. So I was laying down fiberglass on the instrument panel to make a mold for a new dash. And I don't know what it was. I was having a really hard time, and Smiley had been urging. His name is Charles, but he went by Smiley, and that's been his name since like the 50s when he started racing. Smiley had been telling me because one of his closest friends was a door gunner in Vietnam. His name is Frank. He was in the cab in Vietnam, and he's a door gunner on a Huey. And homeboy went down like 4 times when he was there. He's got a hell of a story. I got really close with him too. And so Smiley had been pushing for me to maybe, to re-establish a relationship with that therapist, or to go to their mental hospital. He was a big proponent of that. He wasn't pushy with it with me, but he would voice his opinion on it to me all the time. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to do something, because I don't know. It wasn't like I was suicidal. I just felt like I couldn't function. I was just kind of like on pause.
We talked about so let's get back into your transition out of the military. So was that what type of a transition was that? You were going through a breakup. You didn't spend too much time in the military after our redeployment, right?
No, because once my window was open, 90 days, and I was gone. Because I was originally supposed to get out the beginning of May, but I didn't end up getting out to almost, I want to say, the end of June, or I think it was the beginning of July.
Yeah.
Because that's what hit my 90 days. Once we got back, that whatever decompression time or whatever they called it.
So like I experienced the same thing. I was out within 30 days after redeployment because I was past my ETS date in country. So they gave me basically 30 days from the time we redeployed to get my stuff in order and process and get out. So that was very aggressive 30 days for me.
Yeah.
And all right, so you were kind of fast tracked as well on your way out the door, kind of dealing with some stuff that really was never addressed while you're in, kind of going through, a breakup with your ex, and working a job, not really sure what you're going to do. And you moved home, you're back in Washington now, and you finally found some peace. Now, what were you able, aside the fact that you were seeking counseling and getting that on a regular basis, which isn't a bad thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there might have been some stigma around that, 10, 15 years ago, but nowadays that's not the case anymore. And I'm glad it's not the case anymore. I wish it wasn't the case 10 years ago, but
if anybody listening to this has never talked to a therapist, even if you don't think you need to, I would say just find one locally, do some research, see, some reviews, find a good one that comes highly recommended. Just go in there for an hour. Just sit. Even if you don't have nothing to say, they might do enough to spark up a conversation. Because I have grown. This lady, this therapist that I started seeing, is an amazing woman, and very, very quickly, I'm talking like over the span of about 5 months, she's become very close with me, and a big part of my life. We probably are within texting conversation at least once a day over something.
Yeah.
She saw my my Thrive DFT I was wearing on my leg my very first appointment, and so she asked me what it was, and I told her, and she's like, well, that sounds like something that I might be interested in. So I gave her my link, and then went home, and I just told her, I said, well, if you have any questions about it, just hit me up. Well, she went home, signed up as a promoter, and ordered like $1,200 worth of stuff that night, and she's been she loves it. And
so back up a little bit. So Thrive, what's Thrive? What is it? What's it for? And what's that all about?
So Thrive it was introduced to me by a girl I went to high school with. She had been introduced to it by a girl. She's on the east side of Washington. I've been trying to help her for a few months, try to get a health and workout plan set up, but she wouldn't she never followed through with anything I said. She she would give it like 3 days, and she'd be like, "Oh, I can't. Eating healthy and preparing food is too hard." And so I was like, "Whatever, man. Just." And so one day she hit me up and asked me. She goes, "Have you heard of Thrive?" In the gym that I work out in town, there's a franchise here. It's called Thrive Community Fitness. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to go to Thrive here in about 40 minutes." And she's like, "No, no, no. It's some kind of supplement, silly." And I was like, "Oh, all right, whatever." I was like, "So, well, send me." She goes, "Well, I'm about to try a couple days. My friend gave it to me." And I was like, "All right, well, send me the link, and I'll check it out. I'll let you know what I think." And she did. Checked out all the different products and the ingredients, and I just got. I mean, it looked decent, and I just told her, if you're looking for any one of those one things, you could go to GNC and buy, a multivitamin, or buy, um, fat burner, or buy whatever, anti-inflammatory, whatever you're looking to get out of this. If you just want the one part, then you could just go buy that. And she's like, "Well, I'm just gonna try and see what happens." And so she did. I didn't hear from her for about 2 weeks, and then she just started blowing me up. And it was Thrive this, Thrive that. I haven't had coffee in 10 days. She just kept going and going and going, and I was just like, "Man, you don't know what the stuff that I was taking, what I need for a workout to get through a day. This stuff's like, it's all natural. It's, it's all plant derived ingredients." And I was like, "You're all natural." And that's what I told her. I was like, "You're all natural crap. Ain't going to cut it with me." And she kept bothering me and bothering me and bothering me. And got to the point where it was either I was going to shut her out of my life, or I was just going to try this stuff and prove her wrong. And so I did. I ordered. I said, I'll order 1 month. And when it doesn't work, you can never mention Thrive ever again. And she was like, "Oh, okay, deal." So I did. I ordered a month, and I mean, literally within 40 minutes on my first day, road rage is still a huge issue for me. It's not as bad as it once was.
Yeah.
But I saw something in my very first commute, literally within 30 minutes of taking this Thrive stuff, that I knew it was going to be something big. And so I did. I dove in and became a promoter of it, and it's replaced everything that I used to put in my body. And I would say probably a lot of my anger and anxiety, a lot of just my mental issues were probably derived from all that crap I used to. That stuff is loaded full of so much terrible crap. Man, I looked at the nutrition label of I was taking No Explode at the time when my Thrive stuff showed up. And I turned around, I looked at the nutrition label, and that stuff you can't even pronounce freaking half the stuff that's on, in that thing.
Yeah.
And so, that stuff has been huge for me. I would like mentally and physically. And
how many different types of supplements and weight stuff were you on?
I've just been using. So Thrive, they offer about, I want to say it's probably, there's like 11 or 12 different products. And so I've just been using Thrive. And
No, I mean before you were taking Thrive, like all your supplements and stuff that you were using when you were lifting. How many different types of stuff were you using?
So my normal day would be, so like April 13th, that was a Monday. I took all my stuff. That was just this past April 13th. Because my Thrive order showed up that Monday afternoon. So April 13th, what I usually do is I come into work, and they have free coffee here. They have those K-Cups from like one of the local roasters, and they got like rigs in here. And so I would normally brew two strong. Like I would put the K-Cup in the thing and then hit the little, the little cup.
Yeah.
And so we have like 16-ounce insulated cups. And so then once that was done, I would take that K-Cup and throw it out, and then put another one in and hit the little thing again. So I would burn like 3 K-Cups and 1 cup of coffee. And so when I first would get here in the morning, I'd have 2 cups of that. And then about noon, I'm usually in the gym about 3. So about noon to 12:15, I would brew 2 more of those really strong cups. I would just be double fisting them, and I'd just pound them down real quick. And then I would have to come over to our little change house, and I'd have to just freaking shit guts. Because it was just, I mean, this stuff tears your guts up, you know? And so then I would head for the shower room. And so, like, literally within 30 minutes of me just chugging 2 extremely strong cups of coffee that were probably, 150, 160 milligrams of caffeine each, I would go to our locker room and I would mix up 2 scoops of No Explode. But I couldn't even tell you how much caffeine or how many other stimulants are in that. So I would mix up 2 scoops of No Explode. I would shake that up really good, and I would use that No Explode to drink a pack of Animal Stack, a pack of Animal Pump, and then creatines, aminos, branch chain, and essentials. And so I would take in like probably 20 pills with 2 scoops of this pre-workout stuff and 2 cups of coffee within like a 40-minute time frame, and
Damn.
it would just get me going. And so, it's about a 30-minute commute home to the gym. And so that stuff starts kicking in, and the road rage is just to the max. Because people around here are just terrible drivers. I don't know if it's in the water or if it's part of the driving test or what, but it's disgusting, the ability of the locals here on the roads. And so that's it. And I would get to the gym and I would be so hopped up, and I would get a workout in, and I just felt like I hit the wall, like I was just done. I crashed. So I would get home and it'd be time to try to play with the kid. I hadn't seen him all day. And so he was, like 18, 19 months when I first started Thrive. And so I wouldn't have no energy because I felt like I was just dead, But then come bedtime, so he would get in bed about 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. So then I'd hop in bed because I feel like I'm dead, and you can't sleep. I'd just be sitting there spinning. This has been my cycle for over 10 years, day in and day out. Yeah, ridiculous. And so just by getting that stuff out of my life, out of my body, out of my life, and to be able to maintain like the same kind of intensity in the workouts.
So you started taking this Thrive as a way to just shut this girl up.
Yeah.
And after taking all those other supplements that you were taking, you're like, there's no way this like all organic little like program is going to do anything for me, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but I was wrong. I have eaten crow from her every single day since April 14th.
So describe for me this journey you went on with Thrive and what it did for the other supplements you were taking and kind of what it's done for you since.
So it has it has replaced everything as far as a nutritional supplement anything I was taking. I just take Thrive. So I take I haven't changed anything as far as my diet or my food intake. All I did was I got out with the coffee's out of my diet, and then all of those workout supplements are. I still take my protein. I take 2 scoops of Optimum Nutrition whey protein post workout, and then a scoop of their casein protein before I go to bed. But so this stuff has it not only removed all just those supplements, but the need or the want for coffee. And so that's it. I mean, I take as soon as I wake up, I take 2 capsules, and then I take a shake 20 minutes later, and then they have this stuff's it's a DFT, and it's dermafusion technology, and it's like it looks like a nicotine patch. I get that more often. People be like, "Oh, you're trying to quit smoking?" I was like, man, first of all, it's camouflage, so it's all green, neon green camouflage pattern. And I thought, do I look like? I mean, granted, I did smoke, for a while. I quit when we were in Iraq, but I'd smoked for 10 years, prior to that. Yeah. But I mean, do I look like the kind of person that would freaking smoke? And so then I just tell them, and it's really the world's first wearable nutrition, and so I have added that. Plus, there's they have this thing called Activate, and this a product called Boost, which is like it's 16 servings of fruits and greens. So it's like it's basically like if somebody was to juice a bunch of good stuff, it's just in like a little one of those little tinfoil powder type things, like the propels come in where you just tear the top open.
Oh yeah.
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 So that's all I take for a pre-workout is an Activate, and it's a bunch of vitamin B and some aminos, and then it has 50 milligrams of caffeine, and then that Boost. And I haven't noticed any. I've noticed some strength loss, but I mean when you're as hopped up on all that stuff that I was, so much of that strength is artificial anyways. It's not it's not true muscle strength. Even though I'm the one doing it, all that stuff that you put in your body, contributes so much to that. But I've been able to keep a lot of my strength and a lot of my mass. I dropped about 10 pounds, but it was all fat because I like to eat. Even though I eat fairly clean, I cheat. I like a good IPA and I like pizza, and I try to cheat at least once a week. Sometimes I'll cheat and I'll cheat twice a week.
Yeah.
But so I've always carried, a ribbon. I call it a ribbon of body fat in my abdomen area and my lower back. But it's like every other area in my body is super lean. It's just that stuff has always been there. I attribute it to my Chamorro heritage, but it's really just my eating habits. But so within my first 2 months of trying this stuff, that went away. I dropped down. I have weighed in under sub 200 pounds 3 times since I've started using Thrive, and I have not weighed under 200 since I broke over 200 when we were in Iraq, right towards the end of our deployment, when I finally went from the 190s up over 200.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't weighed below 200 since 2004. And
wow.
I have weighed as heavy as 245 in this.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like 08, 09. I was eating probably like 07, 08, 09. I mean, but I ate a lot, but I was really into powerlifting back then.
Yeah.
But
we're talking pure muscle there. We're not talking any kind.
Like it was more of like not pure muscle, but more of like a strongman build, The fact that I was eating so many calories and taking in so much food showed. I was chubby in my face, I was chubby in my neck, I was chubby in my body, but I had a lot of mass also. So this stuff has gotten me to a point now. I'm 35 now. I'm still, really active at work. I'm really active in the gym. I'm still able to go home and run my kid ragged. He's almost 27 months now. And it's without all of that stuff. And, for so long, I swore that's what I needed. It was in my head. If I didn't have that stuff, then I would lose my gains. I would lose size. I would lose strength. It would just whittle away. And it's so untrue, man. I wish Thrive was around back when we were soldiers, because it would have been freaking. I think it would have took me to a whole nother level of what I already was back then.
So besides getting you off all that crap that you were taking in terms of supplements, what has it done for? Has it done anything for the rest of your mental, any of the kind of the PTSD type of issues or anything like that, or is it solely like physical?
No. I didn't even really feel the physical aspect of it till probably it was like well after a week, probably like day 5, day 7, somewhere in there. My first couple of days, it was all mental, and I could tell just from what I saw in my head. Like I have played in the nutrition area long enough to know, I know my body pretty well. And once I saw these changes mentally, I knew one, that they were onto something. And 2, I knew that I wanted to share it with every single person that I had deployed with, because I had seen in just a short amount of time what it had done for me. And so I became a promoter, and I just share it with people. But I have so a lot of the local people, the people who are the easiest people to get to try Thrive, are the ones that have been around me since I returned from Texas all the way up until today. The ones that have seen me, and they've seen the transformation themselves. Because I never went anywhere. Even once I got, my whole routine stayed the same once I came here. I had a little apartment. I went to work. I went to the gym. I came back to my little apartment. It was the same.
Right.
Yeah. Luckily, I had a buddy drug me out of my apartment. He lived in some townhouses next to my apartment, and he drugged me out and made me come out with them to this club. This new club opened in our little tiny town because it was his girlfriend's birthday. And so I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, man, you got to get out of your apartment. This is not healthy for you to be in here. He was one of my really good friends from elementary school, and so I was like, all right, man, I'll go out. Well, I ended up running into one of my high school girlfriends. She was cocktailing. She's in the dental field, but once this place opened up, she's cocktailing because she was making a lot of money. And ran into her, and we dated for a long time, a couple of years, and now we're married, got 2 kids. But so the people that saw me through that whole period, from the time I got back all the way up to now, the ones that actually see the change, they're just the easiest, because I was so still extremely hyper vigilant in my surroundings when I would go out. Back is always to the wall. I got to know where entry and exit points are. I'm constantly watching people, constantly. And I'm not saying that has went away, but that was like my sole focus. So if I was ever in any kind of social environment, I was withdrawn from interactions with people because I was so focused on that.
Yeah.
I still do. I mean, I can do that now, but it's like this stuff has made my mind like so clear and so sharp. Like I feel I could do so much at one time that, and I can't even say that it's really just because who knows? It could be by taking away all that stuff and then adding Thrive, a day later, stopping stuff Monday, starting stuff Tuesday. It's not a good testimony for just purely Thrive. So I can't tell you how much of these benefits that I have seen is just by me removing that stuff out. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't say 100% mentally I'm better because of Thrive. I lost that fat because of Thrive. I stopped so much stuff and started this new thing just right there. There was no grace period. There was no whatever. So it's not a really good, my personal experience is not really a good one to go off of. But the stuff that I have seen these products do for people, I know the youngest person personally that I know, and the only thing he wears half of a DFT. His mom cuts it in half and she puts it on. He has autism, or it might be Asperger's, but it's something with like focus. He can't focus. That's really, really hard for him to do. And so he wears half a patch a day. And she says that has done more for him than any of these prescription medications that the doctors have tried for the last 5-6 years.
Wow.
He's the youngest person I know that has seen a benefit from at least, one part of the Thrive system. And then I have somebody as old as, I want to say she's 64. These are just personal people that I know. There's people, if you go on, the fan page and you check it out, there's like, people in their 80s that have got, their experience posted up there. But this lady, Mitzi, it's my brother-in-law's girlfriend's grandma, and she has lost almost, I want to say close to 25, 26 pounds, and has been able to come off 3 medications, got it all. This is all green lighted from her doc. But it's crazy what the body will do when you can give it the right stuff for it to run, like the way that it should run. It's because every single experience is different. Like as a mass, the whole everybody's like, yeah, I don't have coffee. I got good energy. I'm feeling good. My knees and my back were destroyed from our deployment, and there's tons of white willow bark in the capsules and in the shake, and then in the DFT patch. And then I also they have a gel. It's called Move. I use that, and that has a lot of white willow bark in it too, and like glucosamine, and just what this stuff has done, just mind and body, or stopping what I was using and then adding Thrive. That as a whole picture, what it has done for me has just been. Still to this day, I'm almost on the 14th. It'll be 8 months that I've just been taking Thrive as my only nutrition, and then whey and casein protein. And still, on my 8th month, it's still the same as it was on my first day. And I've never ever experienced any kind of supplement. I took daily vitamins, and they would turn my pee like bright green. And that was, well, my pee's green stuff must be working. Oh, it's not working. That's freaking iodine and nutrients leaving your piss. That hasn't been absorbed by your body. And
right.
But this is the only supplement that I've actually been able to feel working and be able to sustain that kind of, to sustain those kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like results?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, results. Like day in and day out, and not just for me, for people. I get messages every day, from people who. I'd like to think that every day I have somebody like trying Thrive for the first time. It's usually like every third or fourth day I have somebody. If it's not somebody directly under me, then somebody under one of my promoters, and just the messages that if not I get. If I have somebody that's a promoter under me and they get a message, I say, hey, just forward it to me. I don't even need to talk to the person if they're not comfortable with it, but I just want to see what they write, because this stuff has quickly become a very serious passion of mine. And I really think like the only reason I'm able to just kind of come here at work and just half put in what I do and leave is because of the interactions I get with people that's, all Thrive related. During this workday, it's kind of like my escape from being in this place.
Right.
And
would you recommend Thrive for veterans that have deployed, working through some stuff, thinking about getting out of the Army, just in general, working out, lifting weights? Like, what's the type of body or what's the type of person that could benefit from Thrive?
I went to Cabo. Damn, that looks good what you just drank there. I went to Cabo over Halloween with a bunch of Thrivers. There was, if you hit these certain numbers, and they would reimburse, up to $500 of airfare, and then they put you up in an all-inclusive resort. And I saw the widest array of people using Thrive. It was a huge eye-opener for me. I would say it can be for anybody, but it won't work for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because every single body reacts to things differently. It's in what our diets from where we were born up, or where we were raised, and just there's so many factors that play into if Thrive works for somebody. Because a lot of it is you get out of Thrive what you put into it. If you make healthy decisions, if you stay hydrated, usually for vets staying hydrated is not a problem. If you take this, I don't want to say there's a wrong way to take Thrive, but I have seen a very efficient way to take Thrive, and I've seen people take it not so efficiently. And so if you take it, first thing in the morning, within your first 20 minutes of your day, it's done. Take your capsules, 20 minutes later, drink your shake, put your DFT on, you're done for the day. I usually I try to tell people to wait about 30 minutes before you eat, or you start drinking. But that's really important also, because that stuff is just sitting in your gut, and once you add that food, that's when the blood will start coming to your gut, break that stuff down, and transferring that all over throughout your body.
Right.
And so so dealing with people who aren't taking it right is probably that's probably like my biggest obstacle or my biggest hurdle as far as any negative side of Thrive. Some people. So I give out 3-day samples, and if this happens to reach anybody that is interested or thinks that they can give it a go, I would mail them 3 days. If you are in the area, I will give you 3 days for free. I just want people to know that 3 days you might not feel anything, because it's like I said, I didn't really feel it in my body until, close to the end of my first week. I personally see somebody take 9 days before they could honestly say they felt something different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because it takes, they call it it's called the Thrive, the 8-week experience is what it's labeled. And it's because that's what they say it takes for this stuff to cleanse and detox your body of just like free radicals, all the nasty stuff that will counteract anything Thrive's trying to put in, and needs to flush all that stuff out. So They say it takes 8 weeks for your body to be able to utilize every nutrient, every plant extract, every freaking enzyme, probiotic to its max. And so some people, I'm really, really lucky, and they see something really good, on day 1 or day 2. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I tried it for 3 days. It didn't work for me." It's not that it didn't work for you. You just didn't give it, its due. And so that's why I try to tell somebody. I mean, if you're going to take this 3 days and you're going to tell me, "Well, I didn't feel anything. It didn't work for me." Don't take my 3 days. Don't waste my products. I pay for that stuff out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Just if you can, digest that, if you can understand that I'm gonna try this for 3 days, I'll see what it's like. Some people who are sensitive to adhesive, like in Band-Aids or whatever, they have reactions to the DFT. So you can see if you react differently, or have any kind of adverse reaction to, either the capsules or the shake. But you take 3 days, and hopefully, if you take them the way that I do, you will see enough to at least commit to a month. Because within a month, if you can commit to a month, then within that first month, if you see enough to want to share it with people, then there's an opportunity for people to get their product for free. If you refer 2, then you get credits the next month, and so it's the average of 2 orders. So that's why I get people who dive in and are like, "Well, I'll just buy the 8 weeks," and I try, it's just do 1 month, do a month, try it, see what it's like. If you see enough that you want to talk about it, then I'll help you share it, I'll help you promote it. My promoter page. My page looks the exact same.
Yeah, I started working on
It looks exactly just like how the Thrive. Like if you went to Google and you Googled Thrive, Thrive experience with my web page looks. I still don't have proper radio etiquette. 5 years in the Army, you think I'd be all right? I can't even get this freaking radio to work. You think our ICOMs are bad in Iraq? These things are terrible. Roger, last truck, number 2. And so that what had happened is you can sign up as a customer promoter, or you can hit me up first. Contact me through Facebook, or that'd probably be the best way for the general population to find me out. There's not a whole lot of brand bosses out there. I think I might be the only one. But
so what I'll do is I'll add a link to your Facebook page, and I'll add a link to your Thrive link. And for anyone out there listening that's curious about what Thrive is and what it could do for you, if you want to take Brandon up on his offer of a 3-day free sample, just hook him up and let him know that you're interested in checking it out. And you can always leave comments at the bottom of the show notes page. Let me know if you do in fact reach Brandon and get some Thrive, and you try the experience. Maybe you move on to the 1 month or the 8-week program, and you have a good experience. I would love to have you share that at the bottom. Leave your comments. I would love to follow kind of your progress and kind of feed that information back to Brandon and the rest of the Thrive community.
Yeah, and
all right,
ready, because you're going to become a big part of my life. Because every single Thriver that I've got under me it's crazy. Like I've described it multiple times to many people that this network of people, this family that I have grown the last almost 8 months, I compare it often to that bond that you build with the people that you serve with. It's because it's like so many like-minded people, seeing so many good things. You just build bond. It has opened. That's another big thing that, like, aside from my mental, changes I've seen, my physical changes I've seen, what it has done for my, I guess you want to say, like, my social life, is I have all these friendships that have been rekindled. I've probably lost a lot because I will not shut up about this stuff, and people are probably just sick of me on Facebook and just, probably unfollow me or ignore me or block me or whatever. And that I have absolutely no problem, because if I have put something up every single day, let's say like for 5 days, and on that fifth day somebody's just been watching and they're finally like, all right, I need to give this stuff a go, then having somebody block me or somebody delete me, it's sad, but it's worth it because I reached one person, and that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Now, if you just want to be, customer, and you dig the product, that's cool. You want to try to get in the business side. Like I said, I had no desire to be in the business, and I do this just my free time, basically. I still work full time, and I got 2 kids, so it's not like this is my full time gig. But I honestly believe in this product and the results I've seen so much. That's why I give people stuff for free.
As you know, this show is called Change Your POV Podcast, so I'd like to ask all my guests a closing question. Here it is. Give an example of something that you once believed or thought, but something happened that caused you to change your point of view. What was it, and what did you learn from the experience?
For the longest time, I thought that I was able to handle a lot of things on my own, regardless. It doesn't matter. Even though teamwork, I think that what happens is because teamwork is ingrained in us so much when we're in the Army, it just becomes like second nature, to want to do that, to work as a team. But you're with extremely like-minded and people that carry a lot of the same abilities as you, be able to think as you. And so it's, even though you're working as a team, I honestly feel like you're working as like a group of 6 individuals. You all just know what the other is thinking, so it seems like it's teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like once I got out and realized that the civilian people in a workplace are not that way at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the longest time, I felt like it just had to be me. It was all resting on my shoulders because I was the one with the most experience. I was the one that could problem solve or do whatever they needed because they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wrong. I was wrong for a long, long time because so many people have so many different experiences in life and so many different things to offer, even though it might not be the thing that you're so used to or the solution that we're used to or the path to travel to get to the solution. As soldiers, people are invaluable to you. It's like I said, like, we all kind of walked the same line while we're in uniform. And we all came from different backgrounds, but once you enter, once we all hit that entry point and put that uniform on, our travels and our trail is all pretty much the same. Our experiences, up into deployments. In garrison, if you're from boot camp to wherever you are in garrison for, let's say you're just for 10 years, just, everybody is fairly like-minded, regardless of your MOS or whatever you do. The fundamentals are pretty much all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that it was so different in the civilian life that I immediately just shut them out. Like they can't help me. They can't help me do whatever I need to do because they don't know. They don't know any better. I'm way better than they are. And that's the approach. That's a totally wrong approach. If you engage with people and conversation is the key. The same thing, what they used to say in freaking, what was that thing they taught us in basic? Something about teamwork is essential, communication is the key, or something like that. It was this thing they made us cheat in basic training. Engage with people and communicate. Just talk. Conversation between people will open up wealths of knowledge that you did not know about a person. It'll really open your eyes to what people have to offer, even if you don't think they have anything to offer.
All right. I just wanted to thank Brandon for coming on to the show and providing me with enough content to break it up into 2 shows. I love talking to him. It's been great having him on the show. This is Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. You can find all the show notes for this episode at changeyourpov.com/episode 8. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. If you want to reach out to me, you can email me at eddie@changeyourpov.com. I would love to hear from you. All right, until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.
He remembers you when you were a little tiny baby. You were 2 years old when he saw you last.
That's right.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's better.
Yeah. All right, let me ask that again. I'll edit all that other stuff out. Good night. I love you. All right, closing.
Love you, good night, Dad.
Love you, good night. All right, wrapping up.
Love you, good night.
What an ass. Wrapping up, as you know,